Hi, Light Beamers. It's Melinda coming to you live. How are you doing? Well, I wanted to talk to you today about raising chickens. I started my journey with raising chickens, and now we've moved on to bigger animals. We're in ducks, and we are doing goats. We have one goat. He's a three-legged goat, and his name is Lieutenant Dan. He is very fondly named after Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. Yes, I know it sounds kind of maybe mean or silly. We actually didn't name him. Somebody else did. They named him his previous mama, goat mama. We kind of kept it because it seemed fitting, and it's kind of funny. So when we dove into doing this, I'm going to call it homesteading. When we did the chickens, when we did gardening and so on, I had no idea what happened is my now husband, I call him Mr. Awesome, we were living vicariously through other people. We would look at YouTube's different feeds on Facebook. We would see just things in magazines. Like, someday I'd like to do this. We'd find books and so on. Like, hey, we'd talk back and forth. I'd like to do beekeeping. I'd love to try more primitive cooking, cast iron cooking, and so on and so on. So when the opportunity came for us to dig into the dirt and find a place that had a little bit of land, we jumped on it. It was a big, big house, and it had a bit of history to it. It was an old hunt lodge, and we loved the place. Now, see, one of my many loves and passions is for antiques, old things, history. One of my many passions. And I love this place because we even thought about maybe doing some kind of a reenacting, something of that sort. It didn't pan out, but that's okay. What happened was we fell in love with homesteading. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. My thumb here, it's not green. It's more of a brown or kind of wilty green. I'm not the best gardener, but I do try. And believe it or not, I had a master gardening course many years ago. I had my own lawn service. That was me on the big mowers and so on and so on in a previous life. And I love that, but I didn't really get into gardening too much. And but I love doing it. I love digging in the dirt. It's very grounding as it is. If you can look into the science of grounding, it's very healthy for you to do so. Even there's been studies out there that find getting in the dirt can help you if you have like depression or anxiety. Just digging in that dirt, smelling that earth is so very good for you and healthy. So doing that was really good for my recovery from PTSD. But in addition to that, learning to do the chickens, and when we first got those little babies, I got to admit, I was overwhelmed. I had a lot of things that were going on. We looked at the books. There were a lot of things that the books told you to look for. I looked for clean eyes, clear eyes. I looked for their nose to make sure their nose was okay. They didn't tell me about pasty butt. Who would have even thought pasty butt? What the heck is pasty butt? So let me tell you what pasty butt is. You get your chicks, whether you're find them at your local farm store, or perhaps you have them mailed to you. So I had my first batch of chicks mailed to me. When they came to me, these adorable little cheeps, and their balls of fluff were in this box, and I was so excited. We didn't have, and they came kind of unexpected fast. They were supposed to come at the end of the month, and they came towards the beginning of the month. And so all we had was this big, huge fish tank. So we put them chips down. We had all that going for them. We found some bowls from the house to give them for water and for food. And then no one told me I had to teach these chicks how to drink. So with the pasty butt, I didn't realize what was wrong. They made messes all over their butts. No one told me how bad that was. I didn't even think to look at their rear ends. Who does? It's something I learned. I didn't have anyone succumb to pasty butt, but it is very dangerous for them. So what happens is they become a little impacted on their little behinds. So what you need to do is you need to get yourself a bowl of water, warm water, and a little cloth. Make it a soft cloth, nothing too hard, okay? Because these are babies. You're getting day-old chicks, sometimes a couple day-old chicks, and it's very important. They're very gentle with these little guys, so you don't want to damage them by rubbing too hard. So yeah, you got to rub them a little bit. So I would saturate my rag. I would drip some water on there, warm water, make sure I put that on their behinds, and they didn't like it. I got to tell you, I didn't like it much either. But then I would go ahead and put like a Vaseline or a coconut oil on them. What happens is they might get too crowded in the box that they were shipped in, or perhaps they seem to cluster together when you first get them because that's all they know. They're going for warmth, and they're also going because, hey, this is my brother and my sister kind of going around me, and they are scared. They probably are not used to, and just like people are not used to being handled by so many strangers. This is a strange place. Where's my mama kind of thing. And so we learned about pasty butt. Again, we learned we had to dip their beaks in the water. And it was kind of funny to do because they wouldn't get it the first time, so you might have to dip a couple more times. And again, these are things the books don't tell you. Now, they also don't tell you that the boys are very feisty. Boy roosters can be very feisty. There are ways to tell if your rooster, or your chick, is a boy or a girl. I'm not very good at sexing them. One of the ways somebody can actually look at their behind, or they call it a vent, and tell if it's a boy or girl in that area there. Pasty butt's enough for me, so I don't do any big, checking out. You can also tell by their feathers if you spread their wings. I don't have any chicks now. We do this in the spring when it's more warmer. They didn't also tell me that chicks and ducks, especially ducklings, are really stinky. They're very smelly. Ducklings are very messy, so you have to change their litter almost every day. With chicks, you can get away with maybe every 2 or 3 days, but with ducklings, you've got to do it every day. And sometimes they spill their water a couple times a day, so they're very messy. Now, you might see them at the holidays, and they're so cute. They're so adorable, but they do need some care. You just can't throw them out in the wild after you're done with them. You do need to find maybe a little home for them, another homestead, a farm, somewhere where these little guys can go, because they are adorable. So those are the few things that I never knew. But again, I didn't realize, for predators, I didn't realize how much foxes love these, owls love these, also raccoons, possum. It was very heartbreaking to find coyotes, to find our flock was decimated by a dog. We lost, and that was my first little batch of, they were kind of grown. They were about 3 months old, 3 to 4 months old. So they were decimated by our dog. So we had to get rid of the dog. And we had one chicken left out of that. And we called her Speedy. And she lasted a long time. I think she went somewhere to just pass on. Now, that's another thing they don't tell you. Sometimes when an animal is maybe at the end of their life, maybe they're sick or something, they will kind of go off and wander, and they might not come back. At least in my mind, I'm rationalizing it that they went to go pass on somewhere, and then they weren't eaten by a fox or maybe taken by an owl. But that does happen. We've lost entire flocks of chickens because of predators. And no matter how good we do to try and make sure that they're protected, the hawks will fly above, or the hoot owls will come on in. There could be a fox or raccoon. Some of them are very vicious. They can even go with their little tiny paws and go through your fencing and just snag just the head. So I'm not going to try and get any more gruesome than that. You can probably imagine how terrified it is to find your poor little fluffy thing on the ground like that. So I'm not going to get into more vivid or descriptive than that. So these are things that I didn't know. I had no idea. You can only find out so much in a book. So getting my hands dirty with this, learning to till the land, learning how to grow different things, and learning how to handle our animals has just been so rewarding for us. It's been rewarding to get those eggs in the morning. And by the way, there's no difference between brown and white eggs unless you are feeding, or your grower is specifically feeding those chickens omega-3s. They might be adding sunflower seeds, something else to that feed in order to make those eggs a lot more happy, a lot more special, with more proteins and so on, and more omegas. There are those people that do that. They might feed them also a special feed or organic feed. Now, many people that are allergic to eggs might not necessarily, and I'm not a doctor, but just in my experience, I have found out that some people are not allergic to eggs They are allergic to whatever the feed that people feed them, whatever the homesteaders are feed them. I do feed a mixture of, sometimes they free range, get their own bugs and so on. And then during the wintertime, we do supplement with a feed from the store. It's not organic. So there is some corn in there. There might be something else that's allergenic for somebody, and it could be just simple as that. But get an allergy test, of course, talk to a doctor. Sometimes there's people that are allergic to chicken eggs, but not duck eggs. There's just a different component in there. So you know what? If you haven't had a duck egg, it is slightly larger. The shell is, this is a lot of stuff. I know. I hope you're taking notes. It's a little larger. It's also very hard. I do have a video on YouTube that you can tell the difference between a chicken egg and a duck egg. The consistency of the white is almost mucusy. It's very, very slimy. It's when you crack it open, like a chicken egg, it just runs on out. With a duck egg, it's very gelatinous. It doesn't break down right away. Again, that egg is very hard to break, but they're very good for baking. So I use my duck eggs for baking quite a bit. I use my chicken eggs just about for everything else. I guess that's about it. I've rambled on long enough about chickens, but if you want to know any more information about these animals, taking care of them, maybe you have some questions for me, just drop your question. I was going to say your name and your name in the comments. I'd be happy to answer anything for you. It's Melinda signing off. I will let you go. Bye.